Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second annual research conference of the Atlantic Council's Freedom Prosperity Center. We are joined here in Washington by over 60 people from 34 countries and from 5 continents, and joining us virtually are 800 people from 75 countries on 6 continents. Allow me to reintroduce to you the Freedom Prosperity Center. We explore the relationship between the freedom and prosperity of countries. And as a foundational element to our work are 2 country indexes. A freedom index with sub-indexes for economic, political, and legal freedom, and a comprehensive prosperity index with 6 dimensions of prosperity. These 2 indexes use 100,000 data points to cover 164 countries over 28 years. Our unbiased, data-driven research finds strong indications that the surest path to prosperity is by way of increased freedom. This is an important message at any time, but particularly in today's sobering time in international relations. Fred Kempe, the Atlantic Council CEO, publishes periodically articles under the heading Inflection Points. In his January column, he quotes Bob Gates, former Secretary of Defense, who argued that the current threat to global order today is the greatest in decades and perhaps ever. In the same column, Fred also refers to a recent article by Professor Hal Brands, who finds parallels between the current international environment with aligned authoritarian, revisionist, and belligerent powers causing regional conflicts and tensions, and the environment in the 1930s, when the regional conflicts in those days resulted in global conflict. Today's leading authoritarian, revisionist, and belligerent powers are China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. They are aligned in wanting to upend the current rules-based international orders, and they give each other support militarily, economically, and diplomatically. Russia in its invasion of Ukraine, in Iran's terrorist actions through proxies in the Middle East, and in China and North Korea's provocative actions at sea and by land in Asia. What is important to the work of our center is that the revisionist powers are also aligned ideologically. They are authoritarian regimes, and they propose to the global south an authoritarian development model. Their development vision is maybe best summarized in the words of President Xi Jinping, who said, "You don't have to westernize to modernize." Put differently, they argue that countries don't need freedom to achieve prosperity. And our research and the research of many others contradicts this contention. I'm confident that our conference today and the work of our center in general will shed more light on this important and timely question. Are economic, political, and legal freedoms necessary for durable prosperity? So, what are we offering today? 3 things. First, panel discussions. There is a common theme in the discussions that we have. The common theme is based on the country atlas that is available online for our center. We invited 20 distinguished scholars to write 20 chapters. The scholars come from 18 different countries. And of these 20 scholars, 15 are participating in today's conference. And I will leave to our moderators to introduce themselves and the panelists. But I must single out Kim Reed, Distinguished Fellow of our center and former CEO of Exim Bank, who contributed so much to our conference that we could consider her a co-organizer. Second, we offer a research showcase. Joseph Lemoine, director of our center, will give an overview later this morning of what we have in our research showcase. But I'll give you the summary. We've selected 7 research projects that are funded by our center and the respective scholars coming from Mexico, Spain, France, Romania, and the United States who wrote these studies are available in the boardroom to answer questions and to show you their work so far. Thirdly, we offer conversations. People will be able to ask questions using the QR code of the panelists, and we have conversations also in the breaks to our program. I would like now to recognize a few of the participants in person with us today. It has been the policy of our center, that is only 2 years old, to have low overhead, to have a small number of people working in our offices here at the Atlantic Council, but to form deep partnerships with like-minded organizations who have been doing similar business, similar work for a long time, and then we can leverage on their reputation internationally and their presence internationally. And 2 of these organizations are really central to our work, the Acton Institute and the Atlas Network, and we have representatives from both of them with us today. And I also have to recognize the Templeton Foundation. We have with us today Heather Templeton-Dill, its CEO, and 2 of its senior leaders, Amy Prue and Michael Bloom. And we have great plans to do wonderful new things with the Templeton Foundation. Also, I would like to recognize the support that we got from the Heritage Foundation. Heritage had produced for 25 years a highly regarded and widely used economic freedom index, and we were just starting out. We got great advice from Heritage. And we have with us today from Heritage Spencer Chrétien, who is Deputy Director of Heritage's Project 2025. We've also developed a close working relationship with the International Republican Institute, and we have with us from them Patrick Quirk, Vice President. He has a great title. Listen to this. Vice President for Strategy, Innovation, and Impact. I'm very jealous for the title. And several of his colleagues, as well as Lauren Van Metre, Director of Peace, Climate, and Democracy Project at the National Democratic Institute. And we also have with us Mike Regas, Vice Chair of the America First Policy Institute's Transition Project, a former senior official in the Office of Management and Budget. And a special welcome for the 2nd conference in a row to Mohamed Farid, Senator in Egypt, current Senator in Egypt, and he's a panelist in the Middle East panel. We also have with us 5 members of our Center's Advisory Council, and we are very grateful that they took the time to be with us. Michael Desambre, former ambassador to Thailand, Vanessa Rubio Marquez, former Mexican senator and vice minister, and Matt Kronig, who is also the senior director of the Atlantic Council's Scowcroft Center, that we are very proud of. Last but not least, 2 valuable guests who have traveled a very long distance to be with us. Ken Sharp and his wife Joanna, who came all the way from Zimbabwe, and they also brought more reinforcements. Their daughter Tatiana is with us today, but she came just from the United States West Coast, so that's close, so it doesn't count as big effort, but still an effort to recognize. And we also have representatives from several embassies, and I'm going to read them in alphabetical order: France, Japan, Poland, Philippines, and Singapore. And it is my great pleasure to also always recognize in gatherings like this the 2 people I refer to as the co-founders of our center. The intellectual father of our center is Michael Fisch, also great supporter of our center. He's the chairman of our advisory council, and it was Michael who had the idea that countries that want more prosperity should increase their freedom, and we are very grateful for continued guidance, especially since his day job as founder and CEO of American Securities, one of the U.S. largest and most respected investment funds, is quite demanding, but he finds time to talk to us. And the other co-founder is our CEO, Fred Kempe, who looked at the work of our center when we were just a project within another center, and he thought that we represent the values and the principles of the Atlantic Council. And he decided to create us a center, which gives us a terrific platform for our work. And with that, I would like to invite Fred Kempe, our CEO, to be the next speaker.
As Michael Fisch and I both know, Dan tends to give credit to others when he should take the credit for himself. The founding senior director of the Freedom and Prosperity Center. Let's give a round of applause for Dan Negrea. And his remarkable deputy, Joseph Lemoyne, and just an incredible team. So thank you for that kind introduction. The Freedom and Prosperity Center, as Dan said, was founded just 2 years ago. And as he said, thanks to the vision and the generosity of Michael Fisch, and I'll come back to that in a moment. But in just 2 years, not only has the center become one of the proudest things that we do at the Atlantic Council, it has become essential to our mission of shaping the global future together. I can't even imagine us pursuing that mission any longer without this center at the fulcrum of actually measuring how are we doing in the world in terms of freedom and prosperity. The center aims to increase the prosperity of the poor and marginalized everywhere, and in particular in developing countries. We believe the best way to defend freedom and prosperity is to share the evidence of their benefits. And that's what the center does. It's an evidence-based center. The indexes that the center produces show that freedom, democracy, open markets, and the rule of law are essential ingredients for true long-term prosperity. And this is an unbiased, fact-based argument against these autocratic models. The center has done a terrific job of producing and advertising its research with key stakeholders in the U.S. and Europe. But what makes its work even more impactful is how it's fostering a new generation of global leaders in the Global South. Today, at this research conference, we'll go on an intellectual world tour, and we'll get the chance to listen to recognized experts in all regions of the world, and Dan has given you the names of many of them. The Financial Times calls 2024, quote, the most intense and cacophonous 12 months of democracy the world has seen since the idea was minted more than 2,500 years ago, end quote. Foreign Policy says this year we'll see a global battle between democracy and autocracy play out literally at the polls. What's true is that some 2 billion people will vote in 2024, so that's about half of the world population. It represents more than 60% of global gross domestic product. In elections across 70 countries, we will not have this group of important elections coming together all in 1 year again until 2048. At the same time, we're confronting intractable wars in Europe and the Middle East and tensions that could escalate in Asia. China wants to replace the United States as the leading global power and to push the U.S. out of the Western Pacific. Meanwhile, Russia wants to retake territory and influence lost with Soviet collapse. We've just faced the second year of its war of aggression on Ukraine, which is really a war against us all. In the Middle East, Iran and its proxies, among them Hamas, the Houthis, Hezbollah, are bent on the annihilation of Israel and are struggling for regional dominance against Gulf monarchies in the United States. So there's a perfect storm of geopolitical tensions in Europe, in the Middle East, in Asia, coming together at a time of electoral ferment and challenges to democracy across the world, Also at a time when there's a competition for the commanding heights of technological change, and where the technologies, whether it's quantum computing or whether it's artificial intelligence or whether it's bioengineering, are also going to force us to come to terms with a great many questions in all rapid fire. In times like this, it's good to take a step back and reflect, as we'll do today. Reflect on where we are, where we were, and also on where we want to go most of all. And that's exactly what we'll do today on our Intellectual World Tour. We'll discuss the data, the facts, the research prepared by the Freedom and Prosperity Center that will guide us forward. And we have top economists and policymakers in this room that will guide us to help better understand what we have to do to get back on track, defend democracy, advance freedom, and achieve prosperity. None of this would be possible without Michael Fisch, founder and CEO of American Securities, member of the Atlantic Council's Executive Committee, and chairman of the Freedom and Prosperity Center Advisory Council. His vision and support have made possible the work of the Freedom and Prosperity Center. To be truthful, when he brought us this audacious vision, I guess even maybe even a little more than 3 years ago when we first started working on this, I wasn't quite sure whether we could measure up to his vision, whether we could measure up to what he hoped to achieve through these indexes. We're only 2 years in, but I'm very proud of what we've done so far, but none of it would have done if you hadn't challenged us in the first place, Michael. And with that, it's my pleasure to turn the floor to you.
Oh, thank you, Fred. Thank you, Dan, for those kind words. I'm not deserving of most of them. Dan incubated and led this vision spectacularly for the last 3 years. And Fred supported it and enabled it, and I'm deeply grateful to both of you. So sometimes things happen which, geez, what a coincidence. So I have this service which sends me little Bible quotes every day. And today's quote is, "For brethren, ye have been called unto liberty. Only use not liberty for an occasion to the flesh, but by love serve one another." That is so consistent with what the Freedom and Prosperity Center is here today to do, to use our liberty to serve one another, because every time freedom fails, economies falter, the data shows. And when the economy falters, of course, that falls most on the poor and the marginalized in every country. And so what the center is trying to do is improve the lives of people around the world, particularly the poor and the marginalized. And so the research has proven this, and I am so deeply proud of all of the researchers that have worked with Dan and Joseph and all of our partners outside of the Atlantic Council who are contributing, and you see that in a lot of the written materials and articles that have been put forth. We've made great progress, I think, because of Dan and the team in accomplishing the mission, providing data and facts, real research and empirical support for a notion which has proven the case that when there is more personal freedom, there is better economic outcomes. And the center's annual reports and data and indexes are available on the website, and I encourage everyone to look at them. They're really, really cool, and they're starting to get animated by people who picked this up. There was a really great YouTube that's come about where it basically has all the work that Dan and Joseph and the team have done, but puts it in a terrific marketing package to a whole bunch of new viewers to this, to get this word out. So I like to say countries that go to elections go with the voting population ultimately will have full knowledge about the choices and the economic consequences of those choices and policies. We recently published another of our many reports that talks about, as Dan mentioned, this false narrative that has been promulgated that authoritarian governments are performing well for their people. It's not true. You can see, particularly in the case of Russia, much in the news, all of the Russian Federation started at the same place. And then when Russia broke apart in 1991, you have what has gone on in Putin's Russia and the former Soviet Union states. And freedom has been repressed in Putin's Russia and in the former Soviet states, they have outperformed. And as the freedom has outperformed, so has the economy. They are related, and this is what the data shows. And so I seriously recommend this research to you and commend Dan and Joseph and the team and all of our other supporters and scholars. And I'm very much looking forward to the rest of today and learning, as I always do when I come to the Atlantic Council. So congratulations on another terrific conference, Dan. That's my official opening, and gratitude for everybody being here and excitement for the center. Now it is my second duty today and my honor to introduce the first contributor to our conference. Professor Darren Asamogo contributed to the conference and previously recorded remarks which are about to be played. And he wrote the foreword to our atlas, and he is one of the most special economists out there, a Turkish-born American who's taught at MIT since 1993, currently the Elizabeth and James Killian Professor of Economics. James Killian was a former president of MIT back in the 50s, so this is a really important professorship. And he received, what I'm sure all of you know, the James Bates Clark Medal in 2005, which is the medal given to one of the best up-and-coming great economists. It's a very sought-after and prestigious academic award. Born to Armenian parents in Istanbul, he received his BA at York University in 1989 and a PhD from the London School of Economics in 1992. Lectured at LSE for a year before taking his position up at MIT. He is best known for his work on political economy and authored hundreds, I mean, it's amazing, hundreds of papers, many of them with longtime contributors Simon Johnson and James A. Robinson. With Robinson, he co-authored the book Economic Origins of Dictatorships and Democracy in 2006 and Why Nations Fail in 2012. The latter, an influential book on the role that institutions play in shaping nations' economic outcomes, and it received wide scholarly and media attention. He's described as a centrist, which is very consistent with the Atlantic Council as Fred has created it. What are the facts? And get to better outcomes. And he believes in a regulated market economy. He regularly comments on political issues, economic inequality, and a variety of specific policies. He is ranked third behind Paul Krugman and Greg Mankiw in the list of favorite living economists under 60. Now, most economists aren't on these lists, but you know, this is really big stuff to be number 3 in a 2020 survey. And so it's a great pleasure to introduce him live to you today.